the time. I am now calling the 2021 organizational meeting of the Anoka County Housing and Redevelopment Authority, or the ACHRA, to order. Madam Secretary, could you please take the roll?
Trustee Look.
Here.
Trustee Brosted.
Here.
Trustee West.
Here.
Trustee Schulte.
Here.
Trustee Meisner. Trustee Gamache.
Here.
Trustee Reinert.
Thank you. The first order of business is the election of the chair of the ACHRA for year 2021. I will now call for nominations for the election of the chair of the ACHRA.
I nominate Trustee Schulte as 2021 chair.
Trustee Schulte has been nominated. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, the nominations are closed. Is there a second to?
Second.
Thank you. The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Barring no discussion, all those in favor of electing Trustee Schulte as the Anoka County Housing and Redevelopment Chair for 2021 signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, signify by saying nay. The motion carries unanimously. I will now turn the meeting over to our new chair, Trustee Schulte, for the election of vice chair.
Thank you, Karen. And thank you, everybody, for your trust one more year. And I won't say running the HRA because Karen does that. Overseeing the HRA, we'll go with that. The next order of business is the election of the vice chair for the HRA for the year 2021. I will now call for nominations for the election of vice chair for the HRA. Are there any nominations?
Nominate Commissioner West.
Trustee West has now been placed into nomination. Are there any further nominations? Are there any further nominations? Last call for nominations. Seeing none, we'll close nominations. Is there a second for the nomination of Trustee West as vice chair for the HRA?
Second.
Second by Trustee Reinert. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of electing Trustee West as the vice chair for the HRA 2021, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say nay. That item passes. Congratulations, Trustee West. You are the vice chair of the HRA. The next order of business is the election of the secretary treasurer or chair pro tem of the HRA for the year 2021. I will now call for nominations for the election of secretary treasurer and chair pro tem of the HRA.
I nominate Mike Gamache. Commissioner Gamache, pardon me.
Trustee Gamache's name has been placed into nominations. Are there any further nominations? Are there any further nominations? Last call for nominations. Seeing no further nominations, we'll close nominations. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Meisner. I do have a question before we go to the vote. In this particular case, we have a vice chair of the HRA, and we now have or will have a pro tem of the HRA, which we don't have on our railroad authority or our county board. Does that indicate, in the absence of the chair, does the pro tem run the meeting or does the vice chair run the meeting? In my experience, the pro tem would run the meeting, but I will turn it to the professionals in the room to correct me if I'm wrong. Sorry for the curveball, Attorney Palumbo.
Mr. Chair, to be honest, I don't know for sure what that would be. If that issue comes up, I will assure you by the next meeting I'll have an answer for you. But
Okay. Well, thank you. I know as a city councilman in Coon Rapids, I was the mayor pro tem. So I would run the meeting if the mayor was ever not there, as there's not a vice mayor. So, and all my workings or studyings is of Senates and House of Representatives. If there's a member pro tem, they're the ones who run, in the absence of the speaker, they run the meeting. So it's just a curiosity point, I guess, at this juncture.
But we do have a vice chair who is supposed to stand in the place of the chair, and I would expect the pro tem would be behind the vice chair in that. But I'll have a definitive answer for you.
Thank you. I'm going to go to Karen and then to Trustee Meisner.
Mr. Chair, trustees, I will pull out our bylaws because I remember it's very clearly stated in there what the responsibilities of each are.
Thank you. Trustee Meisner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, now you've piqued my curiosity because, to your point, the Railroad Authority does not have a pro tem position, so I assume it's a statutory issue. But I would be curious to know, Karen, why it is set up like this, like a third in line.
Karen has the answer for us, I think.
Mr. Chair, trustees, our bylaws were created under a different statutes. That would be why the HRA is very separate from how the county is organized and the rail authority. There's a separate statute for organizing an HRA. However, Tina handed me the bylaws, and it does say, under section 2.4, Chair Pro Tem, in the event of the absence or inability of the chair and the vice chair at any meeting, the Chair Pro Tem will preside at the meeting. So Pro Tem comes in third.
Clarity. Thank you.
And I'm sorry,
Trustee
follow-up question. But this body, we outlined the bylaws, correct? I mean, for this body.
That's correct.
So we could change it if we felt the need to.
We can,
Okay.
as long as we stay within the statute. Trustee Gamache.
To Trustee Meisner's point, I was about to make that resolution. Should I have been moved up? I was going to try to move back, but it's all taken care of.
All right. With that stated, we have a motion and a second before us to elect Trustee Gamache as the Secretary Treasurer Pro Tem of the HRA. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Congratulations, Trustee Gamache.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a long,
No, we've got plenty of time, Trustee Gamache. Terrific. Well, next we will move to Resolution 2021-01, the appointment of deputies and assistants.
Establishment of rules and regular procedures.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm following the script. We will go to item number 6, consider approving Resolution 20-21-01, the establishment of certain rules and procedures and designation of a public meeting, notice facility, and legal publication for the Anoka County Housing and Redevelopment Authority for 2021. Is there an offer of the resolution?
I'll offer the resolution.
The resolution's been offered a number of times. We'll go with Commissioner Reinert. He's in front of me here. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That resolution is adopted. Next, we will consider the appointment of the following persons as deputies or assistants for program year 2021. The Deputy Secretary or the ACHRA Principal Administrative Secretary or Designee, and B, the Deputy Treasurer, the Division Manager of Finance and Central Services to perform collection and investment functions and accounting transactions. Is there a motion to approve 7A and B?
So moved.
I have a motion by Trustee Breasted. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Look. Is there further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That item passes. Next, we'll move to item 8, consider the appointment of Karen Skepper to serve as the Anoka County Housing and Redevelopment Authority Executive Director for program year 2021. Is there a motion to appoint?
So moved.
Motion by Trustee Look. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee West. Is there further discussion? I will like to go on record and say thank you to Karen for her past service and continued service in a very complicated role. It doesn't always seem that way when we get here because she has a way of boiling it down to some simplicity. But dealing with the HUD, federal agencies, whether it's HUD or whoever it is, can be very, very cumbersome. And she works very closely with our attorney's office to make sure that we dot I's and cross T's so that we don't end up having to pay money back. And it's greatly appreciated. Your expertise and time served has treated us well, so thank you.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? That passes. Next, we'll move on to item 9, consider the appointment of D. Goodman to serve as the Anoka County Housing and Redevelopment Authority Assistant Executive Director for program year 2021. Is there a motion to approve? A motion by trustee Meisner. Is there a second? Second by trustee Reinhardt. Further discussion? D, same thing. Great work. I'm not going to repeat it all, but I appreciate your leadership. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? That item passes. Next, we'll consider for informational purposes the appointments by the chair to the ACHRA Management Committee for program year 2021. I will serve on that committee as chair, and Commissioner West will serve as vice chair. And if Commissioner Look and Commissioner Gamache are willing to serve another year, I'd love to have you on the management committee.
Is there value to it?
Speak now or forever hold your peace, at least for 366 days. All right, you are on the management committee. And that was for informational purposes. You don't even get a chance to vote yourself off. Is there anything else to come before EHRA? Seeing none, I will remind the last action item, or the last informational item there was management committee. Stick around, we've got one more meeting, the 4 of you that were listed. With that, we are adjourned. Thank you. Thanks, Karen. Development Authority Management Committee meeting to order for January 5th. We have a number of items to consider here. First, we'll consider recommending the HRA Board of Trustees approve a resolution from the City of Now Then for the use of HRA funds in the amount of $200,000 for internet expansion in the southeast quadrant of the city. Both Commissioner Look and I have worked on this a little bit with the city, and I know Karen has worked with them as well. Is there more background information we should know?
Mr. Chair, the basics have been met. We were able to get this to meet a housing project. We were able to show that it could be replicated in other areas if the city should desire. And there's funds available, and we have a city council resolution all ready to go. So it meets all of our HRA requirements.
Excellent, and I would comment that I really appreciate you working with the city, and I know it wasn't necessarily creative, it was just spending enough time together to understand how it could meet all the goals and needs. And certainly we all know that broadband is becoming more and more critical for the everyday functions, whether it's at-home learning or even business needs. It's becoming more and more critical, and this is one area of the county that is underserved, and the city will be able to serve them nicely here. And I'd like to thank Trustee Look for his work on the ground early on this to get the mayor to work with us to make this happen. Trustee Meisner.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. And I want to say that this particular project came up in a workshop, right, a couple of months ago for the connectivity for Now Then, and we kind of discussed like, well, how could we solve this? And it ended up being in this bucket and through this body. So that I just wanted clarification for that, just for my own understanding. And then I guess just commentary. I mean, connectivity for sure is critical for all residents of Anoka County. And I know in Blaine, there's even some spots that have intermittent connectivity and so forth. So I'm just really glad to see that we are coming up with a solution that can support the cities in this. And then again, just to loop back, I just wanted to make sure that this is the same project that initially came up in a workshop. I want to say it was around, again, maybe a direct CARES ask, but I could be wrong about that.
I don't recall it in a specific work session other than they were looking to get money to do this broadband expansion.
Yep.
And they were interested to see if they could use CARES Act dollars.
Okay.
And we had already told Linwood and other places that it just wasn't going to work. We had too many other priorities ahead of that. And so this was a way to get this done through HRA that didn't involve the CARES Act dollars. I don't recall it being on a workshop agenda, but it might have been.
Okay, perfect.
Trustee Look.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, thank you. I guess it somewhat opened my eyes to the reality that although we're the second fastest growing county in the state of Minnesota, we have dark spots, if you will, in our various different cities or townships where there is no connectivity or it's very slow or whatever the case is, it doesn't perform at a rate in which people find it useful. And my crystal ball doesn't tell me anything different than anyone else's in terms of whether there'll be more CARES dollars or not, or what sort of dollars may be out there. But just thinking along the lines that as in HRA, we levied the entire county, for the most part, I think, short of Coon Rapids, or maybe we do.
I think there's a number of communities we don't.
That perhaps we should start looking at what it might look like to connect those areas that, whether it's, it'll be beneficial to the entire county if these areas are connected from an economic development standpoint. It facilitates growth either in housing or in commercial, industrial, and so some of it may be outrageously expensive and some of it may be reasonably priced to reach some of these areas, and I think it is somewhat of a basic requirement or need that needs to be met for our constituents. So somehow, is there another pandemic that'll hit us at some point? Who knows? I mean, they seem to come around every 10 years or whatever the case is. So being prepared for something like that, seeing as the groundwork is laid for, work at home and all this sort of thing, school at home, distance learning, I think it's imperative that we prepare for that and anticipate, it's not like that's not where the future is going. Obviously, that's where it's going. So kind of getting a jump start on that and taking the bull by the horns is, I think, something that this HRA probably should investigate.
Well, thank you, Trustee Look. Is that a motion to approve
Yes.
this item?
So moved.
There is a motion before us then. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I have a second by Trustee West. Trustee Gamache.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Following up with Trustee Look's points well made, is this the last mile discussion that we've always had from Zayo to get to the homes because we never could get a Comcast or somebody else, CenturyLink or whatever, to do that?
Mr. Chair, trustees, this is part of the last mile conversation. There are a lot of last miles out there that need to be completed. I think every community has them. But this community was able to find a provider that was willing to underwrite a big portion of the cost so they could become better known in the metro area as one of those providers that will come in and build last miles. So they're getting a very reasonably built project that is passing a large number of homes, some businesses, and it just happened to be able to fit into the HRA criteria. So there are times when we can help with that last mile. There are other times where we need others to be able to step in and partner. But this will start to close that gap.
Okay, good. Thank you.
And it's worth stating, I believe, that Now Then has skin in this game as well. They, I believe they have $100,000 of their own city dollars into this project, so they're very committed to getting this done.
Yeah.
Trustee Look.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I think some committees are maybe wealthier in terms of their HRA dollars than others. So it may not be totally fair in terms of that, distribution of HRA dollars. But I think it would also benefit us to identify where are these dark zones, within our county. Obviously, there's one in Now Then, there's maybe one in Linwood, there's various different ones around. And then kind of identifying that on a map and saying, okay, this is how many we have to deal with, what sort of costs are we looking at, reaching out to providers to say, hey, would you be interested in doing this? I don't know that we've taken a proactive, reach out on this issue. We've kind of waited for CenturyLink or whoever to drag cable or a line. And maybe, some of them need incentive a little bit. I'm not sure how that may work. But I guess what I'm saying is I'd like to investigate, determine what the scope of this might be to see if it's even tangible for us to undertake. So,
Well, to that point, Trustee Look, I would comment that I was attending an AMC Executive Committee meeting yesterday where Matt Hilgard, who most of you are familiar with, the lobbyist, for lack of a better term, policy analyst from Association of Minnesota Counties, was going through a session preview of what might and might not happen. And he's convinced there will be no transportation stuff discussed whatsoever, but he did say there will be a substantial broadband conversation. It's bipartisan right now, and he's convinced a lot of broadband dollars are going to come out of this year's session. So we need to work in concert with that to make sure that we're meeting the needs or exceeding the needs without duplicating efforts. So I look forward to that session this year to see what we can do to further serve Anoka County. And certainly, you're right, as an HRA, we should be looking at that as well. It benefits not just our business community, but certainly our underserved and underprivileged households are much healthier with a strong broadband signal.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner West?
the map
me,
exists,
Trustee
it's
West.
just finding out how to get a hold of it.
Well, I'm going to jump on a soapbox for a second and talk about broadband maps. The people that put broadband maps together are providers, and they don't always tell the truth. They want you to think they have much better coverage than they do for a lot of different reasons. And for that reason, those maps are highly inaccurate. That's why NACO started their broadband mapping and why AMC is now doing some broadband mapping within Minnesota. And they're asking you to use your devices to actually log in and record your speeds so we can develop a very accurate map that the providers have less input on, because frankly, their maps just were inaccurate. But your point is taken that there are maps out there, and if you believe them, Anoka County's fully covered, if you believe their maps, and we know we're not fully covered, as now then tells us, as Linwood tells us, as Blaine tells us in spots. Is there further discussion? Seeing none. Let's have a roll call vote.
Trustee Look,
Aye.
Trustee Schulte,
Aye.
Trustee West,
Aye.
Trustee Gamache.
Aye.
And that passes. I guess we don't need to do a roll call vote at a committee meeting. It's probably not important because it's going to the board for a full vote. So we'll just do vote by acclamation from here forward. Item 2, consider recommending a new HUD, or Housing and Urban Development, Section 3 subscription agreement with the City of St. Paul to replace the previous agreement with Ramsey County Workforce Center. Karen?
Mr. Chair, we're using HUD lingo here, so it always needs a little bit of explanation.
Yeah.
Section 3 is a requirement that our department must meet where we are doing whatever we can to make opportunities for jobs available to low and moderate income persons. One of the best ways to do this is to pair construction projects that might be ongoing in the metro area with persons who may be low or moderate income. To do this, we work on a regional basis and have had a database that can do this matching. If a construction company wants to find some entry-level workers, they can contact, used to be the Workforce Center, now it's the City of St. Paul, and they can get a printout of some folks who live in that community who would meet the Section 3 requirements, because the construction companies also have to meet these requirements. So we're working in collaboration with the other metro counties to provide a service to do this matching so we can all fulfill our legal obligations to HUD. What we're doing here is the Ramsey County Workforce Center will no longer be administering the program, and it will be done by the City of St. Paul. So we've got new agreements prepared. We'd recommend that you make the recommendation to the full board that we move in this direction.
Is there a motion to move this to the full board?
So moved.
I have a motion by Trustee Gamache. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee West. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And that will move on to the full board of trustees. Next, we'll consider recommending Coronavirus Aid Relief and Economic Securities Act policy and procedures for Community Development Block Grant CV and Home Funds.
Mr. Chair, Trustee, the Community Development Block Grant Program received a substantial amount of federal dollars to be used for CDBG eligible projects that either provide aid, relief, or help to recover from this last year's coronavirus. In order to use these funds, we have to amend our policies, we have to have procedures in place, and we needed to include some of the waivers that HUD granted us. Things like they're not going to be monitoring our timeliness tests very closely because they understand that when they give you $5 million out of the blue for projects that meet your regular projects, some things may not get funded and spent down in 18 months. So we want to make sure that our policies reflect these waivers, and that will then allow us to use it. So this is part of our house cleaning work for this next year, is get our policies ready to go. We are ready, but we'll bring them to our board at the end of the month.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Trustee Gamache. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee West. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? That will pass on to the full board. Next, we'll consider recommending a public hearing take place on January 26th, where the Anoka County Housing and Redevelopment Authority Board meeting to consider recommending the use of Community Development Block Grant funds for two projects, A and B. The RISE project, which is a workspace conversion for $65,000, and item B is a RISE public service workspace conversion equipment for $15,000. Karen.
Mr. Chair, both these projects are the COVID relief eligible, and that is how they'll be funded. We'll be using some of the waivers that are granted in order to get these funded quickly.
And we will be having a public hearing on January 26th
Yes.
at the HRA. Is there a motion to move this?
So move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, we'll have a public hearing on January 26th at the HRA. And for informational purposes, the schedule of our HRA management and board meetings for 2021 is attached. And I'll ask at this time if we have any comments, public comments for the HRA. We've received none. No one in the audience to comment. Is there anything else to come before the HRA Management Committee? Seeing nothing, we are adjourned. Thank you.